Okay, we're live. Everybody in the room, we're gonna get going in a minute here, so.
I understood we had to read them in.
We gotta read all three of them in, we're gonna continue them, three of them. And I wanna put this down. Oh, no, wait a minute before I do that.
No, they haven't even started. Graduated last spring.
This. And these. And this. And these. This is out of the way. And. Okay.
How are you?
Hey, Veronica. Glad we just about were ready to yell that we're gonna call the meeting to order, and now you came in, so now we really have to call it to order.
I don't have to get out of order now that I'm here.
Now we really have to get orderly. Hope I can remember everybody's name. Let me see. Larson. Debonese.
I have from Jake, it says, "I'm here, miss you all." Don't know what that means, whether,
You heard from him? He's doing,
he just texted me and said, "I'm here, miss you all."
okay, so he's on Zoom then.
So he must be on Zoom.
Jacob and Nazi are on Zoom.
We've been away from the subject.
Larson, Debonese, Ekabachi. And I'm missing Semple. Okay, I'm calling the meeting to order, ladies and gentlemen. For our roll call, myself, Jim Ekabachi, clerk, acting chair this evening. To my left, Richard Semple. To my right, Troy Larson, followed by Veronica Debonese. On Zoom, participating this evening are Chairman Nazi El-Khalasi and Jacob Morrison are on Zoom. But rather than try to chair the meeting from Zoom, Mr. El-Khalasi is having me handle the chair this evening. Under preliminary business, we have some minutes to approve from 2/8/23. I have reviewed them. If I can get a motion to accept as presented.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is it seconded?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of signing the minutes from 2/8/2023 as presented, say aye.
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 We have a unanimous sign them. Okay. Done. And they're already signed in anticipation. We're going to have a discussion for insignificant modification on Littleton Drive coming up. Before I hear anything or deal with that at all, anybody in the room tonight that's here for True Storage, Chapel Lane, or Dorothy Piper, you're welcome to stay and be entertained, but I just want you to be advised that they're going to be continued. They'll be read into the record and they'll be continued. Of course, it'll take a vote of the board for that to happen, but I do not anticipate that being a problem. And now, who's presenting for Littleton Drive? Anybody, Ken, do you know anything about it?
And somebody online, I hope Rio Sacchetti. If not, I'll follow through on this.
John, do you have somebody online?
They're not raising their hands if they are. Oh, I do have one now.
Oh, bear with us. Could somebody in the back room turn that set of lights off so that we can see the screen a little better?
Young lady just turned them on.
There's two switches, you can guess which one it is, and if it's not the right one, it's the other one. No, not that one, the other one. Perfect, thank you. Okay, who was raising their hand? Did you get them yet? Littleton Drive?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? This is Rio Sacchetti speaking.
I can hear you, I
developer with
can't
Penrose.
see you. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. And thank you for your time tonight. So this clarification, we're asking for, two clarifications to the 40B comp permit we have on the site. They were identified by state lenders, attorneys, as we're closing on financing and proceeding to construction of the development. They were asking for clarifications. One of the clarifications is associated with parking spaces. I think on the permit, we detailed the number of parking spaces, but because there's separate financing for the senior restricted building from the family townhomes, they wanted the permit to specifically address how many spaces are belonging to the senior building and how many spaces belong to the family buildings. So that detail wasn't in the current comp permit. And the other clarification was there's mention in the comp permit about the affordability restrictions under the 40B statute, and then there's the additional affordability restrictions that we've layered on top of that, having to do with the low-income tax credits and other state funding that we are using to develop the project. And they wanted the language to be a little further clarified to make it more obvious which are the affordability restrictions associated with 40B and which are the ones associated with the financing. So there are clarifications that don't impact or change anything on what we're building on the permit.
So if I can encapsulate that, nothing about the structures or the number of parking spaces has changed, just the way they're described on the plans or on the application to borrow money.
That is correct.
And that's all you want?
It is.
Any comments from the board?
No.
Not at this time.
I think we could entertain a motion to grant the minor modifications if somebody wants to make that motion. Insignificant, not minor.
I make the motion to approve an insignificant modification.
On Littleton Drive as presented by the presenter. Okay, and do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
We got 5.
Aye.
Good. Okay, Littleton Drive, you're done. Good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and board. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Okay. Now we're going on to continued public hearings. The very first one on the list here is 35-22, under the name of Nazi B. Alkalasi, for variance/special permit and site plan review. This is a continued hearing, so it's already been read in. And it looks like we have somebody here that can explain to us where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Grady, GAF Engineering, here for Mr. Alkalasi. We were here before you previously with a draft of this presentation that you'll see tonight. These are the formal plans that you have. I can give you copies of the information just so that you have it in front of you. This will be our written response letter to your review consultant. I've got a reduced size of the site plan and some architectural elevations that I can hand
That's
out.
probably what we want to be looking at. I got a big, huge, fat folder here, but I really don't need to pull it out of the box if we're going to discuss that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's online, so I don't think he's gonna look at one. Thank you.
Nazzy and Jake, sorry, we can't share our, well, this isn't a digital presentation, it's paper, so we can't share it for you to see on Zoom. Nazzy, for the record, obviously has recused himself. Go ahead, Brian.
All right, so you've seen this in draft presentation earlier, in an earlier meeting. Project's been modified from 9 townhomes to 8 units to be constructed in 4 duplexes. You've all seen that. So I'll ask your indulgence as to how you want to proceed. We have the review response letter. I don't know if you want to go through that item by item quickly, or do you have any particular issues, questions that you would wish to address immediately?
I personally don't, but I look to my right. Veronica, any questions in advance before he gets on a roll?
No, not this time.
We'll derail you later. Richard?
Not at this time.
Okay, what about you, Jacob? Any questions about what we're up to here?
Yeah, no questions.
Okay. So, tonight, you want to go over the response to the peer?
Yeah, I can go through that point by
And you've got
point if
some
you
plans
wish.
for us. So, are you kind of accomplish a couple of things? Do you want a favorable vote and go home and never come back again? What are you looking to do?
That's up to you folks. We've received some minor comments from the water department, so there's a few minor tweaking.
There's still more tweaking to be done.
Minor, I mean, it doesn't affect the project layout, it's just maybe a pipe size for the water service main, things of that nature, so they're minor. We've received email correspondence from the fire department, they've reviewed the swept analysis plan and approved that. So, and I think there's a landscape plan that we owe you. Other than that, you should have all the documents you need.
So if I look at drawing 4 of 9 here, if we can just get this out of the way, this is the layout of the 4 buildings. Are there any significant changes? That's what's on the board,
This is
correct?
sheet 4, correct.
Okay. Are there any significant changes from the last time we looked at it?
No, the footprint, the layout, the sitting, where they sit on the lot, the parking, the drive access, nothing's changed from the draft that you've previously seen.
Okay, so it's basically the same plan.
Yes, this is just more detail that's
More
been
detail,
provided, and it's
okay.
the formal site plan, correct.
So we really don't need to wax redundant over that at this point, because this is what's going to really get us into the... Okay, then let's go ahead, let's get into the weeds. Let's switch over to the...
All right, so the way we format our response is we take Mr. Rowley's letter, and our responses here, you'll see, are the italicized.
One thing. Did Mr. Rowley give you the peer review, or did...
Mr. Rowley, yes.
Okay. Is he staying with you on this project?
No, we'll be switching over to the new consultant.
So we got to satisfy one peer, and then we got another peer to step in and put their 2 cents in, or are we going to...
That's right, I think he'll understand what was done before, though. It should be consistent.
That's what's happened on other applications, so that's what, to be consistent, that's what will happen here. So you're going to get the absolute pleasure of having 2 other engineers review your plan and pick them apart.
Well, is there a point in going through this, then? If basically...
I think if we go through this rather cursory, so that if there's anything in here that was brought up that you can or have or made adjustments to, let's go over it quick so that we can
Yeah, I can
supply
do-
this to the
I will give
Tier
this
2.
a quick go-through, because if we're gonna, I imagine
If the other guy if the new guy has to look at it,
He's going to start from scratch.
and, well, maybe he'll read this and say, thanks for making my job easy, but I'm still charging you for 40 hours.
Well, hopefully that's the case, and they can do a reduced review, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so let me just go through this quickly, and if there's any place you wish to stop, and
Let's do it.
then we'll move on. So I'm on sheet 2, page 2, where it starts with variance. So where you see 1, that's Mr. Rowley's comment in his letter, and our response will be the italicized section. So his comment is that regarding zoning, this not being allowed use in zoning, it's would be considered a variance. But we're just responding to the letter provided by the building commissioner, which states that this is a special permit application for the proposed use. Comment 2, statement that it's a 9-residential building, but our response is it's been modified from 9-unit townhome to 8 units within 4 duplex structures. Comment 3 is informational. Comment 4, statement of the building coverages. With the modified projects, we have reduced the building coverage down to 26%. And when you include that access utility easement that we've discussed, the building coverage drops to 20.9%. So there'll be a restrictive covenant put over that area. If you recall our earlier discussions, that easement area in the back, there'll be a restrictive covenant placed over that. Comment 5 has to do with the total impervious, which was originally at 63%. The new project drops that to 53.9%. And again, once the access utility easement is included, it drops it to 43.5%. Case 6 discusses creating your own hardship in a variance. Our response is that when including the easement area, the variance would be 0.9%. And including the easement area for the total surface area, we fall below the 50%. So we're including that restrictive covenant easement in our calculations. And then again, comment 7 is, again, a reiteration of a variance versus a special permit, and we're responding to the building commissioner's letter that it's a special permit application. 8 is a special permit required for demolition. That was in the building commissioner's letter. I don't believe that's necessary in this instance. There is a provision in there about special permit for some demolition. Ken can probably maybe elaborate on that, but it doesn't have to do, it's for single-family, two-family situations. I don't believe it's applicable in this situation. Comment 9 is design standards for the architectural, and that's informational statement, so that's you folks to review the building elevations and such. The next page, under site plan. This lot, as shown on the site plan, doesn't exist yet. We will create this lot through the A&R process, assuming the project does get approval. We can't do it right now because the existing dwelling on the lot to create the line we're proposing would create a nonconformity. It's too close to the existing building. So that has to be raised first before we can create that lot line. So this lot will be created after the fact, assuming we get approval for this project. Comment 2, pretty much the same. And 3, again, the A&R plan will be created and prepared and submitted upon approval of the project. Comment 4 is informational, there's no response. Comment 5 on page 6 is regarding the easement area in the back. which we will show that area on the A&R plan once it's prepared for submittal. And again, an attorney will prepare a restrictive covenant to cover that easement and the allowable uses and such. Sheet 4 of 9, comment 1, we have added a note for the terminus of that water main, that it either be a blow-off or a flushing hydrant. Spoke with Andy at the Water Department today. That's one of the minor changes we'll be making. Again, it's just minor pipe sizes, things, nothing significant to the plan layout at all. Comment 2, we have added details regarding thrust blocks on the water lines. Comment 3, minimum setback from Main Street. You will see on the plan set, we do show the existing structures on either side, to the left and to the right of the property, and these proposed structures are located well behind the adjacent structures. Sheet 5 of 9, comment 1 is informational, no response. Page 7, comment 2, retaining walls that we show on the plan are a necessary component of the project. We are showing them, and they generally are only about 3 feet, 2 feet in height, but we are showing a vinyl fence behind that concrete block retaining wall. Comment 3, we have added grate rim elevations as requested in that comment. Comment 4, we've shown additional spot grades at the entrances as requested. Comment 5, regarding detectable warnings for the sidewalk, which aren't required. They could be added, but they're not a requirement. Comment 6, rim grades have been added on the manhole covers as requested.
Let's go back to 5 for a second. The detectable warning pads, that's the little bumpy things for blind people?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay. Comment 7, we have modified the grade on the westerly drive as requested. The next sheet, we have added the note regarding the stockpiled material area and erosion control as requested. Comment 2, we have added a note to sheet 6 regarding cleaning of sidewalks and roadways during the construction period. Sheet 7 and 9, pavement detail comment, we have added the note as requested. Sheet 9 of 9, the waterway detail has been revised as requested. Site plan buildings, we have provided you with the building elevations for your review. Landscaping, we will provide a landscape plan to you. If this is the project that's going to be approved, we can provide that to you at the next setting. Stormwater report, comment 1 is informational. Comment 2, we are using deep sump hooded manholes in the treatment train. And it's not part of the automated selection in the calculated format. But so TSS removal will occur prior to the infiltration. Comment 3 is regarding the infiltration rate and the Rawls table. The Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook, we're using the static method in our drainage calculations. As opposed to other methods. So using the static method, it has more capacity for storage, so additional testing, as mentioned in that comment, isn't necessary if the static method is being utilized. Comment 4, pre-construction is requesting that the pre-construction, post-construction stormwater O&M plan be incorporated in any approvals as referenced in any approvals for the project. Last page, no fire apparatus turning movement plan was provided. That has been provided to Captain Smith, and there's an email I believe in your packet, that he has reviewed and approved that. Comment 2, basically the same. It has been reviewed and approved by the fire department.
Okay, so I was listening, so a lot of these things provoked you to make changes to the plan, if provoked is the right word. Caused, stimulated, whatever.
All of the above, yep.
Yeah. So do we need to send this letter to the new guys, or do we just need to send them the new plans and say, here, have at it? What do you think?
I think we send both.
You think we send this letter?
Response, yeah.
So they got to read through this and see what's been done, and then look at the plan, and,
That's correct. This explains what they did to the plans and why.
so that it shows them a history that,
Yeah, this will get them through faster, I think.
think it will, okay. I'm just figuring if they're reviewing the plan and these changes have been made. Okay. If you think that's appropriate, I'm not going to argue. So really, we can't do a heck of a lot tonight because we're switching boats here. We're keeping the same paddle, but we've got a different boat, or we're keeping the same boat, changing paddles. I don't know what we're doing.
Some metaphor, such, yeah. So, yeah, understood. If you have anything that you wish to question or comment upon, otherwise, I guess,
I think my only comment would be to get, or to remove the concerns that I've heard from the board regarding the easement in the back. You know, in my lifetime, or in my experience, I've seen cross easements and triangles and all kinds of plans drawn where frontage and so forth has been satisfied with this type of a vehicle, of an easement. I don't have, I find it perfectly acceptable, but I heard members of the board saying, huh? So I'm just wondering if anybody on the board is still saying, huh, if you guys have kind of figured that out, how that worked. The easement business with the lot size.
I think we discussed at one meeting, we can get you draft of what that easement language would look like, and maybe that would help.
I had asked at one point, and I don't remember the answer. Why is that easement created as a separate lot and not part of this lot with these buildings?
That easement goes with the lots to the rear, the duplexes off of High Street to the rear. That's part of that property. This project is taking an easement over the rear of that property. We're showing a water main coming through that easement. That water main serves those 3 structures to the back. We couldn't access water from High Street because that's pavement was too new. So discussion with Mr. Menard and with the water department, we had to make a cut into Main Street to access the sewer. So since we were cutting into Main Street to access the sewer, we'll make a new connection to the water main, and that water main will serve this project, and it will serve the property to the rear so that there's no road openings on the new pavement behind us. So that easement was created primarily for the utility, the water service, to cross the property. And while it was being discussed, there'll be several purposes for that easement. Utility, this project can use that kind of like a backyard. So anybody has kids, they could put up a swing set or something like that. And it will also be restricted that there be no impervious surfaces there to help us account for building coverages, impervious coverages for this project. So we can have some draft language prepared and get that submitted to you.
It still kind of doesn't answer my question. I understand that how you're saying why, the way it does, but in a way it doesn't, because I don't understand why. So there are 3 lots, 1057A, B, and C. Why wasn't it 1057A with an easement off of 1057B allowing that use instead of creating a completely separate lot? Usually an easement is one property allows the use by someone else. So I'm just confused why that was a separate lot like that.
The easement's not a separate lot.
It's not a separate parcel?
No.
What's the A,
It's
B,
an
and C?
easement across the 3 parcels on High Street. It's three easements, correct?
So, well, I don't have the plan in front of me. I did see a plan at one time, and there was a strip. And so then, can I see what,
You've got it.
no, I have, so what's the third? So this is 10571.
Mr. Brady, you correct me if I do this wrong, but this, if I've got this correctly,
Brian, I know that you had submitted the original property that was purchased and divided. That's what I don't have in front of me that I would like to have in front of me, so I can understand it a little bit
The
better.
original property,
Piece of
the
property
entire
Right,
property?
before it was divided.
Okay.
Yeah, I know we have it, I just don't have it in front of me.
that's the plan in front of us, right?
Right,
And then this is not a separate lot. This is a portion of this lot, and this lot. These are 3 separate lots, and they're taking an easement off all 3 of them.
well, we had this discussion, and I had asked if,
Did I show her right?
do you have are those the originals that came, Jim? Or are those just the new updated plans? Because I know the originals, I remember seeing how it was divided, and there was a square rectangle between both properties where the easement ran. And that's why I had the question in the first place. I don't understand why that was done.
Well, the easement wouldn't have changed from the original plan that we had submitted.
I'm looking at the second to last page of the packet that he handed out with this.
Yeah.
And I see there,
What sheet number is that?
that's one of 2, way in the
Well,
back.
will be the watershed maps for the drainage.
And then
but that-
I just see here that it says that there's a proposed 30-foot wide access utility easement. And I see a dotted line going across the page and a solid line across the back of the existing building. Is that 30 feet go all the way across from right to left on the property?
Yeah,
or
it
is
goes from left sideline to right sideline, correct.
So it's 30 feet wide, right in the back, all the way across.
Correct.
It's a big chunk of land.
So what lot does the easement belong to?
The easement crosses those 3 lots, 57B,
1057D, 1057C, and 1057B.
So that's what I wanted to see, was all of those lots on one map.
Okay, I can get you that.
I thought we had it at one point, maybe it was,
Isn't this on drawing 4 of 9? I see the 4 buildings, and then I see again the 30-foot wide easement proposed from, looks like a retaining wall, vinyl fence, and then from that forward towards Main Street would be the 30 feet easement, right?
Yeah, I can get you a working plan that will make it more clear
Yeah, 'cause
for
I-
you.
I-
It'd show the entire property and where that easement lands relative to the lots.
I thought that when we first looked at this, there was a plan that showed us the buildings that are already under construction at the back off of High Street. And it showed, I thought it showed the whole thing.
I'll see if I can find that again and provide it to you, or prepare something. Yeah, I know what you're looking for. I'll get something to you.
Because personally, I'm comfortable with it, somewhat comfortable with it. The easement only bothers me that it would be separated from the lot that's actually short on coverage, which is this one that we're discussing, because the one on High Street, I thought had full lot area that was required and everything else,
They do.
without that easement piece.
They're conforming to area and frontage in building coverage, impervious coverage, so this easement doesn't affect any of that. But we can't take the land from those pieces because then they'd be non-conforming, so we're just going to put a restrictive covenant.
Okay.
Is there less dirt in the water, or is it still muddy?
Oh, it's still muddy.
Well,
As
let
soon
me
as I
get you,
think I understand it, and you say something, and I'm like, oh, I thought I
well,
understood.
let me get you that plan, and it might clear things up rather than me trying to verbalize it. So
I
let
just
me-
figured that's, oh, I didn't mean to, but I figured let's get it out of the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to ask it anyway, Jim.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to make a statement here as well, too, that the board has spent a lot of time in looking at different plans and engineering reports. And in fact, you may feel comfortable enough with the report that's been provided by GAF to proceed without the further review of an engineer on this as well. That's your prerogative in this case.
I can tell you that I'd be happy if we could act based on this, because I mean, the author of these answers are to the prior engineer that represented the town, and I hope he's listening. He was such a pain in the neck that, we had to get, no. He did a great job the whole time he was here. I can't imagine that, causing this applicant to have to go pay another engineer to redo what's already been done. But that's crossing the Ts and dotting the Is. But as Ken points out, we can go off what's already been done.
You can make a reasonable
Yeah, I'm
decision based
I think-
on
I
the
think it's-
expertise you have before you.
I think that would save the applicant some money, which I'm always willing to do. I think it would save the board and the applicant some time, because now another engineer has to sit and scratch his head and try to think of ways to look smart, and we all know they're smart anyway. They don't need to prove it. How do you feel? You good with the peer review done by Charlie, or you want somebody to check Charlie?
Well, again,
Charlie checked Brian and...
I'm with you and would not like to have to make somebody pay for him, so pay for another review.
I agree.
Everybody, so why don't one of us make a motion to work off the already reviewed set of plans by
You don't have
Charlie
to do that. All you
Rowley?
have to do is just close the hearing, and you're done with the
We
testimony.
can just close the hearing?
And you're done with the
Okay,
testimony.
the hearing's
Yeah.
closed, that's it, go build it.
Well, you tell me. I know we need to provide Veronica with that working plan. We can get you the draft covenant.
There were a few things you said that you had to get.
Just really minor notes relative to the water. I can make that change and provide you a landscape plan. I think
Can they
that's...
come later?
That's up
If we
to
said
you.
yes right now, could you get them in the file, and our yes was conditional upon you getting them in the file?
We could provide them afterwards. Sure, that's something that we could do.
How's everybody feeling?
I don't know, that's kind of pushing it, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't hear what you said.
You don't feel like you've kicked this can around enough, you want to kick it some more?
No, I thought I understood it, but then I'm not seeing it, so I just want to make sure that I understand. Because if the easement is giving the coverage that's needed, the square footage to the property as needed, I'm fine with the variances, as we had discussed the last meeting that you came, because they're very small. The 20.9, it's very close to what?
20, right.
Right, to the 20. But I feel like now I don't understand it, and I thought that I did understand it, so I don't know.
Well, if you want to not close it, continue, we'll provide you with the information that you're requesting to get you the understanding. Rather than close it tonight, provide that afterwards, let's
Well,
keep
I don't want
keep
to hold it up.
open
If
and-
everybody else is clear and understands what's happening with that easement, I definitely don't want to hold the project up for it. So, I mean, I'd like to hear what the rest of the board has to say.
Can I,
Well, I'm with you as far as, I'd like to be more clear on it.
so you'd like another
I
couple
mean,
of weeks?
I don't want anybody going back paying to have somebody review things. I would just like to feel comfortable knowing that we see what we see and we read what we read, and it's gonna be fact, instead of me going down the road thinking that maybe I should have looked a little harder at it.
Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and Jake, you're looking at this too, you're on Zoom, correct?
Yes.
Where do you sit?
As of right now, I'm okay with the project. I understand it.
You understand it, you understand the easements, you understand the peer review and all that, yeah?
Yes.
So is it safe for me to assume you could make an affirmative vote if a motion was made to approve?
Yeah, all the landscaping stuff and all that, I'm okay with that in the future,
Okay,
in the other couple things.
okay. So it looks like we've got close to a consensus, but we have two members that just, want to pull the covers up over their head and sleep for 5 more minutes.
Well, we can certainly provide them some additional information to give them a better level of comfort.
Well, you could clear something up, Brian, because the last meeting, I thought that I heard you say that those lots at the back, without that easement, were conforming. That's where I'm confused, and
I think the lots conform with or without the easement.
Correct,
so they conform
correct. With or without the easement,
with or without the easement.
correct.
In that case, I'm fine. That's what, and then, I thought you said they weren't now.
I'm sorry if I'm confused you, but yeah, they conform with or without the easement.
That's all I wanted to know, and without seeing it in front of me, and then I thought you said something different, I just was like, I must be confused. I'm fine with it, if that's the case.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Then why aren't you subdividing along the easement line?
I'm sorry, what's,
They want the easement to get,
Why don't you just include the easement in the subdivision, the A&R, when you split up the lot?
well, we can't, we're putting an easement over the lots behind us. We can't include that into our project, because then they would become non-conforming if we took that area away. So whereas it's an easement over the lot area doesn't change.
So it makes the lot area standard conform for those lots in the back, but it makes the coverage work for the lots in the project in the front.
Yes, that's the purpose of the restrictive covenant that would be placed over it, so there'd be, number one, it's for the utility, the water service, which serves both sites. But we've also utilized it to meet the building coverage, or more conform to the building and the lot coverage requirements, by putting a restrictive covenant on it that there be no impervious surfaces allowed out there, which I don't know what kind of impervious surface would go there anyway, but that will be in the restrictive covenant.
So, yeah, I just got confused again.
it prevents it from happening. They couldn't put a tennis court, pave a tennis court back there or something like that.
So I just want to, they would be non-conforming in what way, those back lots without that easement? What would be non-conforming?
The easement doesn't affect those back lots. It just encumbers them with an easement. But it doesn't affect the lot area. The lot area is still the same. There's just an easement over the lot. So if it's a 10,000 square foot lot and there's 2,500 square foot of easement, it's still a 10,000 square foot lot. It just has an easement over it.
But if you were to take away that easement and add it to the lot in the front, the lot in the back would be non-conforming.
Correct.
We were to do that, but we're not proposing to do that, correct?
Right, so you're essentially counting this easement area for, double counting it for area for the back and for coverage on the front.
I don't know if it's double counting, it's a dual purpose, sure, yeah.
Dual purpose, that's a good idea.
That's what I was trying to get at, was to understand that. I thought that it was not a dual purpose.
So you're back to not being comfortable, or are you,
I would just like to hear what the rest of the board has to say.
okay? And you're still on the fence? We know
yes.
where Jake is.
Yes.
And I think I know where you, Troy, where are you?
I'm comfortable.
Okay.
So,
We want to wait another couple of weeks? Would you be,
I hate to push the applicant out.
you want a couple more weeks to, let me ask the question differently
How about,
to both Veronica and Richard. if we continue it, will you know anything more in 2 weeks than you know right now?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. If we go down the road, it's going to be the same thing. Even if we see it, we look at it, it's robbing Peter to pay Paul somehow. It's got these nice lots already divided up. Now we're going to go and take some from it to allow the front lots to be over. And it just, for some reason, I feel like we're being bamboozled in a way.
Not really. The reason we're
I'm just
doing
saying,
it
it just
is,
seems that way.
you know, the numbers, you have the numbers, I've given you the numbers both ways, with and without the easement. So, you know, without the easement, we're at 26% for building coverage, including the easement, we're at 20.9. You know, building coverage, we've reduced from the original submittal down from 66.8 to 53.9. With the easement, we get below 50%. So, you know, it's just more conforming. So you could approve it without the easement, if you so choose, with the numbers just a little bit higher. So,
You'd have a 6% difference on, I was listening to your percentages. One of them was 20 versus 26, I think.
right, there's
What
about a
was that- what was
6%
that, the-
difference. So you could, if we took the easement out altogether, we'd just be asking you to approve it at 26% or 53.9%. You know, what we're doing is we're going the additional step of saying, okay, we're going to restrict this piece of land so that they don't put the tennis court or the basketball court or the pickle court or something out there to create those additional impervious surfaces. So you could improve it without the easement, it would just, the numbers would be a little bit higher. So I've given you the numbers both ways, just to show you what we're doing.
Okay?
And if you took the, do I remember correctly, if you took the back decks off the new units?
Yeah, they could be tweaked.
And you could gain the, you
Well,
could,
decks go towards building count, so it would bring the building count down below. We could go to a grass surface, or if we
you could
went to
put a patio instead of a deck, and then
Well,
you,
a patio would raise the impervious surface, so. you know,
No, you know what, Brian, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but now that you just re-clarified that, we have all of the old paperwork, so the changes that you're talking about, I have in front of me 63%. It's not 63, it's 56 at this point.
The new numbers,
it's changed because it was originally one building with
Now
9
it's 8.
units, now it's 4 buildings with 8 units. So they
Yeah.
gained feet when they made the building, change. They lost a unit in an office, they gained some square footage there, that dropped it down.
Okay,
It would probably be, easement gets to be a word that can be confusing. If they said they had a right-of-way to walk across the property, instead of having a right-of-way to dig a hole and put a pipe in the property, they have an easement to put a pipe in the property. You know,
I understand what an easement is. I'm fine with this.
you gained one, you're down to, if we voted right now, even if Richard said no, you'd still be okay, from what I hear. Do I have any motions that would like to move to close the public hearing?
So
So
moved.
moved.
So moved. Troy has made a motion to close the public portion of this hearing. Do I have a second? That means nobody from the public can make further comment. Before we do that, is anybody here tonight from the public that had any comments on this? Yay or nay, or welcome to the neighborhood, or go back to Egypt, or anything? Nothing, okay. Not from Egypt. Okay, so I got a motion to close the public hearing. Do I get a second from anybody, including Jake?
I'll second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded, close the public portion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so we're done with the public. We can talk amongst the board. That's it. And if we have any questions from you, we'll ask, but other than that, sit there and be quiet. Okay. So, what's your pleasure? You want to let it go? You want to make a motion to pass? Or you want to still sit on it for a week?
Oh, you can, I'm fine if you want to make a vote.
How about you, Jake? You want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this as presented with adjustments and responses to the peer review.
Was there-
Do we have a new plan? Do we have a new plan that needs to be submitted based on all those changes?
Yeah, I think also we need landscaping, which we don't have.
Yes.
That all has to...
That we don't
So
have.
so our approval is subject to those things.
Landscape plan, those final little
How
tweaks.
much time do you need for all that to end up in the folder?
I would say 4 weeks would be safe.
4 weeks? So it doesn't matter if we say yay or nay tonight anyway. Nothing's going to happen. We can't...
Well, I'm just trying to be safe.
Yeah.
You know,
You can say before a building permit is issued.
Pardon me?
You can say before a building permit is issued.
You can save the 4?
You can say that everything has to be in before the building permit is issued.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
you
got you. We can say it's got to be
Condition it,
in before
right.
the permit is issued. We can approve it and get into the 20-day purgatory.
right.
And in the meantime, the building commissioner can't issue it until the 20 days is passed anyway, and
Yep.
that's not quite 4 weeks, but it's getting closer, and he's not going to do it anyway until it's all in the folder.
Correct.
I'm good with that. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approving as presented with appropriate stuff and no permit for building issued until everything is in the folder. All in favor, say aye.
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 Look at that, it's unanimous. I thought I heard you say aye. It's unanimous now. It passes.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having the patience with us. Let's put all this back in the folder, in the box.
I kind of got some of this stuff mixed up, but
Unless you guys want to take it home, and if you're having trouble getting to sleep tonight, you can read these plans and read some comments. Thank you, sir. So we have 3 things that are going to be continued and 1 continued public hearing, which is next in order. But before I get into the continued public hearing, which is going to probably be a little bit of a pony show or donkey show or something, let's get these 3 continuances out of the way in case somebody's sitting here. So starting with True Storage, is there anybody here representing True Storage? No, there's been a request sent into the board for a continuation for 4 weeks to the 22nd of March. Anybody opposed to that?
oh, I did see those continuations.
They were here.
They came over in
They're here
emails,
somewhere.
right?
Yeah, they came by email, and we've got copies of them in our folders, I believe.
Our decision deadlines, I don't see
The
those.
decision deadline automatic, I spoke with each of these. As we grant them 30 days extra now, they grant us 30 days to make our decision. That's part of the continuance.
Okay.
So we're going to 22 March on 4-23. 4-23. That's True Storage. Okay. All in favor to continue that, say aye.
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 Hi.
Jake, did I hear you? Jake went away. Nope. We got 4. Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Aye. Aye.
5, 0.
Aye.
0. Thank you. Could have asked Nazi, I suppose, but I think he's sleeping.
Oh, man.
No, you're here. Okay, thank you, Naz. 6 Chapel Lane also asked for a continuance. I think they only wanted 2 weeks, so that would put them out until the 8th. Go ahead.
If you could go 4 weeks?
For 6 Chapel?
Yes.
So you want to be on the 22nd, too? Thank you. So that's 5/23. 6. So all in favor of continuing 6 Chapel until March 22nd? Say aye.
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 Yeah, we all
Aye.
said aye. It's okay. It's 500, 600. Everybody said yes. And then Dorothy Piper, looking for a special permit on 40R Chippewa Drive, has also sent a written request to continue to March 8th. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, continue.
Aye.
Yeah. That way we don't have anybody sitting in the room here just waiting for us to do that, because we're gonna have a fairly long discussion. March 8th, Dorothy Piper, 623. Okay. So the next fun piece of business for this evening is going back to continued public hearings. We're looking at 2-23 Lynn Butterfield appeal on 12 Great Neck Road, map 17, lot 108. I
Mr.
believe,
Chairman,
yep.
did you officially open those hearings as well, too?
Oh, gee whiz, I gotta read all 3 of them things in, don't I?
Yeah, unfortunately so. Let's make it official. This was when they were scheduled for.
Yep, thank you, thank you. I was trying to just,
Thanks, Sonia, for recognizing that.
I wanted to get the important. I think I only have one of the folders here. I can't read them because I don't have them. Pardon me? You can pull them up offline on your, so I'm gonna read, which one have I got here? 223. No, this is
You
Butterfield.
want 4
I don't have any of 'em.
5-23.
This is Butterfield. Sorry, but they weren't even in the folder because we knew we were continuing them.
You can dispense with reading of the,
We'll read them in before the night's over. Let her have a chance to bring them up, huh?
you can dispense with the reading of the announcement and just open the hearing. Just say that it's officially opened.
Okay. 4-23 is officially opened as of tonight. 2-22, 23. And when we reopen it on the 22nd, we'll read it in just for the record. Same thing for 523 6 Chapel Lane is officially opened as of this evening. And 623 Dorothy Piper is officially open as of this evening. Piper will be ready in on March 8th. Chapel will be ready in on March 22nd. Thank you all. That way you don't have to look it up. Stop killing yourself. Okay, so the only piece of business other than zoning articles, which we can discuss later, is Butterfield, I believe, 2-23. It's an appeal for 12 Great Neck Road, was opened at our last meeting, and I believe there's an attorney for the appellant, and I believe there's an attorney here representing a person in the neighborhood, and I believe that the building inspector who originally issued the notice of violation that that's being appealed is also here. Before we hear from anybody, let me explain what we have in front of us and what was discussed at the last meeting. At the last meeting, we had an attorney for the appellant present a very lucid argument in writing. It was read, and it led us to review the state description of an agricultural use which included animals. As a result, we looked at the use table. The first thing we came to was agricultural rules and uses, be it R30 or MR30, agricultural uses in either case are allowed. And I don't know if anybody else, even the people here fighting, or the people that weren't here to fight, looked further down and saw a whole second section of principal uses entitled Animal-Related Uses, which further supports the building commissioner's notice of violation. In the notice of violation, there was a reference to section 352 of the zoning bylaws. Right here I have the current zoning bylaws that were revised April 12th, 2022, that haven't been approved by the Attorney General yet. I have the revised June 12th, 2021 zoning bylaws that we're currently under. I have the revised April 22, 2019 zoning bylaws that we're no longer under. I have the revised October 2018 zoning bylaws that we're no longer under. And I have the revised November 2015 zoning bylaws that we're no longer under. But I keep all these copies because sometimes things happen when a certain set of bylaws was in effect, and people like to go back and argue that bylaw at that point in time. This doesn't happen yet. This is what we're under. I've made copies of all these for everybody to have, so as I speak, you can reference all this. And on the bottom, I've put dates. And if there's anybody here that would like to come up and have a copy, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 extras. If anybody feels they need to see what I'm talking about. One for you, one for you, sir, thank you, and one for you. And I think all the important parties have got a copy, and I've even got a spare one if somebody that doesn't think they're important wants to see one. So, after reading the very well-written response by the appellant's attorney, it looked like, what the heck? They can have animals there under an agricultural use, but then looking further down, it says animal-related uses. And if we go all the way back to 2015 bylaws, which further uses section, and I'll do it on the very, what I handed out to everybody, if you go towards the back, and if you look where I wrote 2015, November 2015, and if you look at the very, very last page that I just handed out, you'll see 352, animal-related uses, from 2015. And it says piggeries, and it says veterinary hospital, and it has animal kennels, which is not what we're talking about tonight, because animal kennels refer to dogs, fur farms. This applicant isn't running a fur farm. It has riding stables. This applicant has, under last meeting's testimony, said it's not a riding stable. So that leaves us with veterinary hospital. And there was a special permit granted for a veterinary hospital. and it was restricted to 3 ponies. 3, a maximum of 3. But in last week's testimony, the appealing party said, we don't run a veterinary hospital. Special permits are granted and need to be acted upon within 2 years, or they go away. So there is no special permit. There is no 3-animal limit. It's gone. According to the applicant's testimony and her attorney's testimony, there's no veterinary hospital. That was the only permit that could be granted under our bylaws. If the applicant or the appealing person came to us right now under our current bylaws, which is the first page under use, principal use, we go down to animal-related uses, and they're not running a kennel, they're not running a riding stable of less than 5 acres, they're not running a riding stable of more than 5 acres. It's been reported, although the notice of violation, I don't believe included it, but it's been reported there's a pig there. Well, piggeries has N in it, R30 or MR30. Pigs aren't allowed in the residential neighborhood, be it human or 4-legged. So piggeries, no. So the notice of violation may not say, get rid of the pig, but the pig has to go. If we go down further to piggeries, fur farms, more than 5 acres, they don't have more than 5 acres. If we go to veterinary hospital, less than 5 acres, which this appellant would have the right to request, because they don't have a special, they're allowed to have a special permit for a veterinary hospital, but they've already told us they don't have one. So they'd have to reapply to us and ask for a veterinary hospital. They don't have any permission to have any animals there right now under our current bylaws. They don't have the right to have 1 pony, never mind 3, that they were granted to have under a special permit for a veterinary hospital on a piece of land of less than 5 acres. But 2 years passed, and there's no veterinary hospital. So somebody, and I don't know who, and I don't really care who, made a complaint to the building commissioner. The building commissioner studied and went out. And yeah, it would have been easier on me or anybody trying to review this thing quick with 3 minutes to review it before we had to make a decision. Would have been a lot easier if the letter referred to section 340.2 instead of 352, because the zoning bylaws have gotten so much bigger, the numbers have changed. But nonetheless, the language is still the same. From 2015 to June 12th, 2021, the language on page 15 of our current bylaws, which would apply if there was a new application under 340.2 animal-related uses, the language is the same. It's the same as it was in 2015. And if you look at 340.2, the only way those animals could be on that property is if the people that owned the property came in here and asked for a special permit to conduct a veterinary hospital. In my opinion, and I'm going to ask the board to support my opinion, there is no existing veterinary hospital. The building commissioner was 100% correct in his notice of violation. And it would appear the people that own the property don't believe they're in violation. And I've just very calmly and carefully tried to explain to them how they are absolutely in violation of our bylaws. Our bylaws do not allow people in MR30 or M30 or R30 to have animals. The only way they could have animals is if they had a kennel with a special permit, or if they had a veterinary hospital with a special permit. But as I've earlier said, there is no special permit, because special permits have to be acted upon, just like if you went and asked for a building permit. If you don't put a shovel in the ground and start building, the permit goes away after a while. And the after a while time on a special permit is 2 years. And the special permit was granted in, by memory, 2012. And it's now 2023. And 2 weeks ago, I had people here give testimony. There's no veterinary hospital. We never built it, we never used it, we never did it. Nope, there's not a veterinary hospital. That would be the only reason there'd be any animals on that property. I hate to wax redundant, I'm starting to repeat myself. Is there anybody here for the appellant that would like to speak to this matter?
Good evening. My name is Craig Hartwell. I'm here again on behalf of the appellant. I apologize if there was some confusion last meeting about the status of the veterinary hospital. I think the fact that we are here tonight in response to a violation of the special permit for a veterinary hospital shows that it was still in effect at the time the violation was issued. Because if the veterinary hospital was not it was not in effect at the time the violation notice was given, there wouldn't be a violation in the first place.
I don't think the notice was in violation. I read the notice, I don't have it in front of me, I could probably pull it out, but I don't think the violation was
Specific to condition 1 of the
specific to whether it was or wasn't. I'm not even sure I agree with that. There is no special permit. There's no veterinary hospital. There is a violation. If the violation's written wrong, that's okay. The commissioner can go out tomorrow and give notice to the people that own the land that they have a violation of our zoning bylaws, and the violation is that they have animals there.
I don't doubt that I disagree that he has the right to do that, but his violation notice that we were given 30 days to respond to was specific to the special condition 1 of the special permit. So the special permit had to have been in effect last August when he sent the first notice of violation, had to have been in effect when he sent the second notice.
I'm going to give one of my famous answers. Just because for 1,643 years everybody said if you sail west you'll fall off the edge of the earth, didn't make it true. Just because everybody said it doesn't mean it. The earth is not square.
So I guess.
The veterinary hospital does not exist.
I guess I would like the opportunity to continue the hearing and present evidence that the veterinary hospital has existed, and to respond to the building commissioners and the abutters council's letters that were only sent today. You gave them an additional 2 weeks to respond to our meeting last time.
I'm not going to say whether we will or won't grant, but I am going to give the building commissioner the opportunity to defend his decision to give a notice of violation. And I'm going to invite the neighbors to come up, and hopefully they're more prepared than they were 2 weeks ago, because 2 weeks ago, nobody was prepared.
So I guess what changed from 2 weeks ago, you personally had Mrs. Cooney up there and explained to her that all the uses that are going on at the property are allowed by right according to the 2021 bylaw.
And there it is right there, and there's what I pointed to, and those are allowed uses. Agricultural uses are allowed uses. Your argument was that the Wareham zoning bylaws do not define agricultural uses, so therefore we'll refer to the state definition
That's not what
of
I said.
agricultural uses. That's what your response said. And nobody went down the zoning use laws here, so shame on me, and saw where it says animal-related uses. Piggeries, no. Animal kennel less than 5 acres? No. Animal kennels more than 5 acres? No. Riding stables? Yes, within one zone with a special permit in the other. Piggeries? Less or more than 5 acres? No. Nobody has...
Jim, if I may.
...on their property in MR30 or R30. Veterinary hospitals are allowed with a special permit granted by the Zoning Board of Appeals. But there was one granted, and it was never used, and so I think that the party needs to come in here and reapply for a new special permit and see if the Zoning Board of Appeals will give them one. And if the party comes in here and says they want a special permit for 5 donkeys, a pig, 6 chickens, and a duck, and a turkey, and a this and a that, I don't think they're gonna be very successful. I think at one point...
Jim, if I may.
Go ahead.
Mr. Akaguchi?
You're going pretty hard on these people right now, and they haven't even had a chance to speak, in my
They're
opinion.
gonna get their chance.
And just remember, these people, these aren't pets. These are donkeys that need help. So if you make this go away, where are the donkeys going to go? Where are these poor animals going to go? These people have been doing this for over 10 years now. And isn't that by right now that they've been doing it for so long, after someone's been doing something and they haven't been told not to do it? Doesn't it get grandfathered in at some point, or no?
I'm going to...
Because, I mean, it wouldn't look good for you or the town to make people, what are they going to go do to those donkeys now? Where are they going to go? Are you going to take one? Do you have a farm? Like, these people are just trying to help out. That's all it is.
Okay. You've been heard, Jake. I got somebody trying to interrupt you because he thinks he has a point of order. He hasn't said point of order yet, but I know that's what he wants to say.
That is a point of law, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morrison has an active, real conflict in this case. I'm asking him to recuse himself. I did reach out to Mr. Morrison's attorney beforehand to let him know that I would be making this request. Mr. Morrison knew 2 weeks ago that I was representing Ms. Cooney here. As soon as my name came
One moment, please. Nazi, are you listening to this?
Yeah.
You were here last week too, correct? We can have a board of 5. If Jake recuses himself, he's still allowed to speak, he's still allowed to give testimony, he's still a citizen of this town. When we have our public hearing, Jake, when we open up comment to the public, I'm gonna ask you to graciously recuse yourself. We still have a board of 5.
I've never been sent anything by anybody at all. So,
Hold on. Excuse me. Listen, please, point of order. 1 second, Jim. Counselor, what's the conflict? What's the conflict you have from Mr. Morrison?
Mr. Morrison is on the opposite side of litigation that's going to trial in about 3 weeks.
All right.
Which is a land dispute that has nothing to do with any of this at all. And I didn't even know he was the attorney at all until I just saw his face right there. So I recuse myself, that's fine, but that has nothing to do with this at all.
I understand, Jake. We're just trying to...
I totally understand. Okay, you could participate, Jake, as a public citizen, but I don't think town can afford to have litigation.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So you could also, of course, comment and put an input and everything. You just can't vote on it. So we'll proceed this way.
We're going to proceed. The gentleman's going to go back to his seat and wait his turn to speak. Jake's voluntarily recusing himself. Troy Larson is sitting in his place. Troy was, for the record, Troy was here when the hearing was opened. We don't need any Mullen rules or anything. We still have a 5-member board to hear this case. Do you have any more to say, sir, other than the fact you'd like a continuance?
That's it for now. Thank you, sir.
For now, okay. Anybody else that would like to speak on this matter, either for or against? I see the commissioner here. Did you want to explain your violation to us before we hear from the public? Thank you. That's what we're at. We're all arguing about what you wrote, so we might as well have you explain what you wrote. I hope what I said prior to bringing you up here all made sense. Go ahead.
Paul Turner, zoning enforcement officer, Town of Wareham. So I sent the board and put a packet in your folder here. So I'd like to kind of just go through that. I guess there was a little confusion.
Okay, did
First
everybody get
meeting.
one? That's this. Can you see it? Okay. All right, everybody's got one? Jake, you're Nazi, you don't have one, but if you have any questions as we go through.
Yeah. Yes, I'll ask the question. Just go through it.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, so I'd like to go through it, and at the end, we'll do any questions and concerns or comments. So I want to start with the letter from the law officer, Jessica Clark. First page, 3/4 of the way down. Attorney Hartwell says, August 24th, 2022, building commissioner, without any evidence of a violation of the special permit, sent the first notice of violation claiming that the property was in violation of condition 1 of the special permit. I want you guys to go to the next letter, labeled letter 1 at the top. It's addressed to Ms. Butterfield, dated August 24th. There is 2 paragraphs with great detail of the 2 violations, one on August 4th and one on August 17th. So, I don't understand, I'd watched the video from the first one. For some reason, we couldn't find the violation, so they're clearly stated right there.
This is the August 24th letter?
Correct. Yep, the first one in the packet labeled number 1.
Okay.
In the margin to the left, I wrote violation number 1, violation number 2. A lot of detail there. I went out and counted the animals the first time. As you can see.
So let me ask you a question
Sure.
to help us maybe avoid some future arguments, or is it your opinion that the special permit continues to be in effect and they are allowed to
There was
have?
a stretch in the beginning to give it to them, so there's no building ever built. So there's just a number of unpermitted sheds. There's one shed in the back of that property that is permitted. I don't know if there's 5 or 6 sheds out there now. There was no hospital ever built.
So
There's no veterinarian
I guess
there.
the reason I'm asking is I just don't know if, I made a mistake in my interpretation, and I thought I was perfect, but somebody proved me wrong this week. Maybe we made a mistake here in even acknowledging the special permit and the violations. At this point, do you think the special permit is still active? If you were writing the violation today, would you write it different?
Yes, I would.
Okay, that's all. Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's see. We could go to the second page of Mr. Hartwell's letter.
Yep,
Again,
turn back, okay.
letter was also sent without supporting documentation of the facts that the alleged extent or even location of the violation of the special permit, other than a reference to pictures on Facebook, but without including those pictures. Facebook posting it's public information. Anyone can look that up. The Peace for Ponies organization posts 10, 12, 15 times a day, every single day. It's one of the easiest sites in town that I can monitor. All I do is go on the Facebook and I can see they have postings and I count the animals whenever I have a complaint. So, you go to the third letter. Again, the way Mr. Hartwell wrote this letter to the board, the determination, the violation letter, it states the 12 Great Neck, it's to Mrs. Butterfield. via a posting for Peace for Ponies on the Facebook page that there was a minimum of 7 animals on site. Facebook it's worldwide, obviously, everyone in this room knows that. In 1 second, we could look this up, and we could see what happened on that date. Again, I want to go over this letter. At that time, they had started to apply for 2 more building permits. And I reached out to Jessica Clark, who represented them, came in and explained to me that they received some land or donated land from the bank, and they were going to move the operation away from the residents into the MR30 in the back. And that's why I gave them that opportunity to...
Time.
More time, 180 days, very liberal. But then to sit back and look on Facebook and see that the animal count's going up and they're applying for permits. And I asked Ms. Clark, I said, why are they doing this? Why are they expanding? Oh, they'll move those buildings as they move backwards. So just because I gave them that extension to move out back, did not give them, in my feel, they weren't working with me. They were just violating, if the special permit was in effect, over and over and over, flagrantly. Yeah, so that's that. What I would like to go to this printout here, and it's from their Facebook page, and it's the Peace for Ponies Animal Rescue, our mission, to facilitate the rescue of any and all kinds of baby animals in need, to transform the sick and weak into therapy animals through love and compassion, to find animals their forever homes as therapy animals, to continue to follow their journey. This, to me, is an animal rescue and shelter. That's what it's all. If someone came into my office and described this is their mission, I would determine that their use is,
So,
hold on.
yep, go ahead.
I got so many papers here.
I get it. It's not,
Let's
it's,
go to the second page of their printout here. Another one, this is another printout from their Facebook page.
okay, go with the circle.
Yeah.
The circular picture.
Peace for Ponies is a humane, no-kill animal rescue, foster placement and adoption shelter in East Wareham. And again, in my opinion, this is a animal rescue adoption shelter. At first, the attorney, Hartwell, he was saying that the permit wasn't in effect, the special permit, and that he was going for agricultural use. And I disagree with that. If you go back to page 3 of the original letter that the law office of Jessica Clark sent to the planning board, page 3. If they came into my office and described their operation from these 2 posts that they have, the 2 mission statements, I would call them a service establishments not involving manufacture on premise. To me, it's like going to the Humane Society in Dartmouth. That building in Dartmouth it's a modern building. It's in an industrial zone where it belongs, not in a residential neighborhood.
So let me ask you a question, because it keeps coming into my head. You said there was some land donated to them by a bank behind,
Behind, yes.
but nothing's happened on that land yet, to your knowledge.
I'm speaking, they engaged, I was told that they engaged JC Engineering to do some surveying. They did contact the conservation agent at the town. So that's fine.
So
They were moving forward, right. But at the same time, they're asking for 2 building permits for 2 more structures, and the number of animals were just increasing.
Now, do you know approximately how big that parcel is? Acres, feet? I mean, is it multiple acres? Is it,
Yeah, I think it's in the acres.
it's in acres?
I don't
Okay,
know about that.
okay.
Getting back to
The reason I'm asking is because 2 weeks ago, when everybody was here and there was a little bit of passion in the room, and I think the passion still exists, but people are being more throttled now. It seemed as though the neighbors that were aggrieved by the existing of the animals weren't opposed to some animals continuing to exist, but they were expressing concern over the number of animals. And I'm just, I'm wondering, I went by the property trying to see what was going on there because, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but an on-site visit
Absolutely.
is worth 1,000 pictures. So, the appellant has asked for a continuance. I'm going to have a tendency to try to grant that, even though I'd like to dispose of this evening, because I always like to see when neighbors are fighting, the neighbors to work it out and be able to come back here and say, you know what, we'd all be in agreement if this and X, Y, and Z. And it even seems like you're willing to kind of
I did on that second.
bend a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
I get
Give
it,
'em 180 days, a half a year.
I get it.
Could I continue on page
Yeah,
3?
go ahead, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Not a problem. So, Mr. Hartwell writes, "The current use of the property for keeping of animals is an agricultural use as defined by the Wareham zoning bylaws and the Massachusetts general laws and is allowed by right. Keeping of animals, the definition is directly above that, the state definition. There's no term keeping of animals. It's not
Well-
there. I don't understand that.
I think I've given this a lot of thought, and I refer back to my high school days and my high school law teacher and my very minuscule knowledge of the law, and it seems that the law is, if the federal government makes a law, that's a federal law. And then the state can make a change in that law, and they can make it more restrictive. But they can't make it less restrictive. They can't say, if the federal government said, everybody has to have an address in order to have a house in America. It's a federal law. I'm making this up. The state could come along and say, yeah, well, they got to have an address and they got to put a number on their house. Okay, they haven't done away with the federal law, they've just made it more restrictive. Now it has to have a number. So you got federal law, you got state law, but then we got this other thing called local. And the local law can't overrule the state, and the state can't overrule the feds, but the local law can say, yeah, okay, the raising of livestock, including horses and keeping of horses, is an agricultural use, but the town can say,
Correct.
animal-related uses and further restrict, even if you want to call it an agricultural use, it's further restricted by our bylaw. And that's where we are.
But
It's
going
not,
to that state definition, I only highlighted raising livestock, including horses. The definition of livestock is,
I get it.
okay.
I'm with you. I'm
There's
hoping
nothing
the
up here
board's
that-
following along.
On a stretch that you can make that agricultural. So again, if this came into my office and told me what they were gonna do, I would go to the use table and I would assign them the use of a service establishment not involving manufacture on the premise, which is not allowed in R30.
Not an allowed use. I got you.
No, okay.
I mean, the zoning board of appeals has the godlike power to grant variances and special
Absolutely.
permits.
Yep.
But we've already established there aren't any variances that are enforceable that have been granted. And there's a questionable special permit because it was never acted upon.
According to them, correct.
So here we sit, and I'm going to say it while you're sitting here, I'm going to still take my... I think at minimum, this party is going to need to come back to the town and come back to this board and request a special permit, because I don't know if the one that was previously granted continues to be in existence, and I think they need to establish that. I think, might be wrong, might be right, I think as enforcement officer, you may need to go back to the property and maybe withdraw all the notices of violation, but if you feel as though there's a violation, write a new one based on the current bylaws, that they got animals there, they got no permit to have animals there, and they gotta go. And that's a violation. I think, you know, we might wanna all clean up our act, is what I'm saying, and I'm not, gee whiz, you just came into this town and you got this stuff thrown at you, and then somebody gave you a 2015 set of bylaws, and here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm sorry, 5 versions later, and the good news is everything we're talking about tonight, the language is all same, some of the numbers have changed.
Correct.
So really, nothing's changed since this special permit was granted, acted upon or not. There's obviously, in my observation, and I spent a lot of time, there's obviously, you're correct in putting out that there's a violation. It's either the violation has to be corrected, or permit has to be granted for it to continue. And right now, there's been no request for it to be allowed to continue. There's been a request for us to overturn your decision that there's a violation. I can tell you that I don't know how the rest of the board's going to vote, but I'm going to vote that there is, in fact, a violation existing on the property based on our bylaws. That's, whether I think it's a great thing that they take donkeys and ponies and chickens and pigs and save them from the slaughterhouse or the glue factory, that's moot to me. You know, I think the intent of what they're doing is honorable, but doesn't make it okay in our bylaws. Did you have anything else you wanted to offer, or is that pretty much where you came from? Okay. I know there's other people here that would like to speak. I'm going to ask if we let whoever would like to speak next come up. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Dan Walsh. I'm with the law firm of Daniel Walsh and Associates in Plymouth, Massachusetts. Very sorry, getting over a cold. I represent Joan Cooney, the abutter to the property. I think the comments by the acting chair are right on point. This special permit, is, as of today, is a legal nullity, really. The special permit doesn't exist. I was prepared to address the argument of the appellant that agricultural use would allow them to keep animals on the property as of right. If the board is still considering that, I would argue against that, but I think it's clear this is not an agricultural use. Excuse me.
Well, I think it may very well qualify personally. I don't know if the board disagrees with me. I hope somebody speaks up quickly. I think it certainly is an agricultural use, or in the broad sense of the word agricultural use, but I repeat myself when I say the agricultural use in Wareham has been further restricted by our bylaws, and on page 11 of the bylaws adopted June 12, 2021, under the bold heading animal/related uses, and those restrictions don't allow these uses.
Understood, but again, at the last,
It's still an agriculture, you know,
I respectfully,
under the broad sense of the term agricultural use, you know.
well, respectfully, I disagree with that, because the Chapter 48, Section 3 points to Mass General Laws, Chapter 128, Section 1A, as far as defining agriculture. And I can read that for the board here, but it says farming or agriculture, it combines both terms, which I would suggest are very different, shall include farming in all of its branches and the cultivation and tillage of the soil, dairying, the production, cultivation, growing, and harvesting of any agriculture, aquaculture, floriculture, horticulture commodities, the growing and harvesting of forest products on forest land, the raising of livestock, including horses, the keeping of horses as a commercial enterprise, the keeping and raising of poultry, swine, cattle, and other domestic animals used for food purposes, bees, fur-bearing animals, any forestry or lumbering operations. So at first glance, you'd say, oh, it's a
That's what I read before last week's meeting.
Yes, sir. But if we continue, those categories are considered agriculture when they're performed by a farmer who's defined as one engaged in agriculture or farming, as defined in here, or on a farm as incident to or in conjunction with such farming operations, including preparations for market, delivery, to storage, or to market, or to carriers for transportation. So even though it mentions the keeping of, the raising of livestock, including horses, it does, for the purposes of this hearing for zoning, it does not qualify as an agricultural use. And it's only common sense. I mean, we're talking about animals that are on this property. They're not growing crops, they're not maple sugaring, they're not doing anything that would normally be associated with agriculture. And again, nobody's questioning the value of what they do. It's a great service, they're saving animals, nobody questions that. But we've got today the issue of the special permit essentially being a legal nullity, or if there's some way to enforce it, they are in complete non-compliance with the special permit. I mean, Mr. Turner was up here testifying that he went to the property 3 different times and found animals exceeding the number. It's 3. The special permit is for 3. Not 3 babies, 3 adults, it's 3 animals. And if I can present something to the board, Mr. Clerk.
Go ahead.
These are, I printed just one, sorry, should be on the microphone. I printed just one page from the website for Peace for Ponies. I gave a copy of this to appellant's counsel prior to the hearing. I'd ask you to just flip through these pages, and you'll see that they're talking about bringing in 1 or 2 pregnant jennies, so they're bringing in additional donkeys. According to this, there's a mom and a baby from BLM that were in the kill pen. I don't know if they're on the way as well. There's a picture of 4 other donkeys that need a soft place to land together. And then we go to the quote-unquote residence. So there are 2 donkeys. Actually, residence, it shows 4, Rose and Poppy, Barnes and Noble. And then the picture behind that are Will and Ben. Those are the 2 resident donkeys. And behind that is a picture of the pig. So the special permit couldn't be any clearer. It's 3 animals. So they have 2 donkeys and a pig that are residents, and they're bringing other animals in. I think it's important also for this board to know that the Board of Health has its own regulations with respect to animals. First, dealing with animal waste. It's going to be stored 50 feet from any dwelling and 50 feet from any property line. The waste storage area must be treated and maintained to eliminate odor or insects. This is Wareham's Board of Health regulation. And again, if I could, I'd like to present 2 pictures to the board.
Thank you.
I provided these pictures to appellant's counsel as well. One picture shows a stack of garbage bags full of manure against the fence to the abutting property. You can see the foundation of the house just a few feet away. Now, this property is 4/10 of an acre. It's a very small property. The other picture shows a pickup truck with somebody loading bags and bags and bags of manure on there. So not only are they in violation of the special permit for the number of animals, they're in violation of the special permit because they're not complying with regulations. When animals are on property, they need a stable. Board of Health requires a stable permit annually.
Board of
That's-
Health.
I'm sorry?
You said Board of Health?
Yes. Now, again, the special permit requires them to comply with every regulation. I have no evidence that that has been complied with. Board of Health regulation says the manure storage should be covered, ventilated in a watertight storage facility. Stacking up garbage bags full of manure on the side of the property just isn't an appropriate way to handle that. Further, animal rescues need to be registered with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There's a separate organization with the Massachusetts Department of Animal Resources. I checked on the website tonight, Peace for Animals, Peace for Ponies, whatever. It's not registered as it's required to be. I'm sorry, every single aspect of the special permit has been violated from day one. It's really a complete disregard of their obligation. The special permit allowed 3 animals, and there are 3 animals plus. I don't know how many, but there's more than that. I don't know anything about donkeys. I had to get a book. And according to this book about raising donkeys, each donkey should be on half an acre. And you don't want 1 donkey, you should have at least 2. So now 2 donkeys should be on an acre. This is a 4/10 of an acre with 2 donkeys and a pig. And other animals, rabbits, chickens, I don't know what else. So ignoring the issue of the legal enforceability of the special permit, there's no doubt that there's a violation. Those animals exceed the number that should be allowed on that property. It's a very worthy cause, but we aren't voting with hearts. We're in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals to enforce zoning regulations, Massachusetts statutes. If we were just deciding about the value of the organization, this is great, they'd get 4 stars. But we've got animals next to my client's house that shouldn't be there. So I hear appellant's counsel wants 2 weeks, or a continuance, I'm not sure if it's 2 weeks. I think as we sit here tonight, there's no doubt that there's violations and that the board would have to take some action. If the board is inclined to allow additional time, I think the only issue is whether or not that special permit has any legal validity. I'm going to suggest it doesn't, and appellant's counsel and I can each prepare memos for the board if you'd like, but otherwise, the issue that was presented, is there a violation? There certainly is. There is no as of right ability to keep animals on here as an agricultural use. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, sir. Who else would like to speak? You'd like to come back up, come on up. Thank you, sir.
again for the appellant. Again, I would just like to ask two things. One, if the board would entertain a site walk between now and the next meeting, and then we continue till that next meeting to allow the board to have an opportunity to come to the site and see the current conditions, and allow us to prepare responses to the letters that we've received, one of which was received right before the hearing tonight, and one was received earlier today. So if we could have that opportunity, we would greatly appreciate that, sir.
Nazir, you feel like when you get home going for a walk and seeing a donkey?
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to mention a thing, if I may, also regarding the agriculture. It's definitely not an agriculture parcel unless they could provide or show a 61A certificate, which I doubt they have, because it's definitely in R30, unless there's a variance for that parcel or whatever, because sometimes that we don't have, but it's definitely not an agriculture parcel. They will have cheaper taxes, and it will be completely different bylaw for that parcel. So we shouldn't even discuss the agriculture use at all anymore. We just concentrate on that special permit, whether it's valid or not, or if it's enforced or not. If counsel of the appellant can prove that he had a hospital there for a while since the permit was issued, or within the 2 years it was issued, we'll decide upon that. But either way, when I'm back, we'll definitely take a ride there and check it out. So, and we'll decide then. And I don't have a problem with an extension.
Okay.
I have a question.
Before I'll get to your question. While we're talking about the site visit, I want to get the site visit business finished, if you don't mind. Would you like to go to the site, and would you like to go as a group or at will?
I've been by once, but I'll go as a group or I'll go again,
You go by yourself or as a group?
whatever it takes.
What's the wishes? You're inviting us. You're inviting us as a group, or could people come by at will?
Ideally, it would be as a group at a scheduled time.
Okay, it might be hard to get 5 people all to agree to one time, but... And what about you, Troy? Do you care to go by?
Yeah, I can go by. I am going to be going to a conference in Florida,
Okay,
March 3rd.
okay.
I will
So-
be back till the 14th.
So, we have a board member that's out of state participating via Zoom. We have a board member that's out of the country that will be back. I and another board member have other obligations that we've already wondered whether we could meet as a group. One member says, yeah, I'll go as a group if the whole group can pick a day. I've never known 7 people to ever agree on the same day at the same time in the same place. It's like trying to get a decision by committee to build a new Dairy Queen on an island. Not happening. If you can entertain us one at a time and we come and knock on the door, and if we have to show our ID or anything, I think it might be a lot more productive.
Yeah,
Try to get us there as a group.
Maybe just a phone call ahead of time, just so
Okay.
we're aware that you're going to be on the property and we can have somebody there to walk you through.
Is there a number to be given for that?
Sure, you can call my cell phone. It's 978-697-5572. I think it's 978-697-5572. That's my direct cell phone.
Well, it sounds like one of those things you'd hear on TV, you know, and
Not that exciting.
you know, a nice jingle would go a long way if you were doing PI.
No, thanks.
Okay, sorry, Veronica, I didn't mean to hold you off. I know you had a question. Go ahead.
As a board, well, first, I'd still like clarification on what it's expected this board will do. We don't enforce the permits. We just say yay or nay. So I'm unclear on what our position is here. So I guess that would be what I'd like to know.
To answer that, the zoning enforcement officer, who is the building commissioner, went to the site, observed some violations, wrote them on a piece of paper, and sent them to the people that own the property. The people that own the property have hired this attorney to come and say, we appeal that decision, we don't feel as though there's a violation. So they're asking the board to either overturn the commissioner's decision that there's a violation, or enforce the commissioner's decision that there in fact is a violation, or are multiple violations, or... So really what the board's being asked is, the board's being asked to overturn the commissioner's decision and just say, nah, no violation, keep it up. Or the board can say, we believe the commissioner was proper in his notice of violation, and we support his notice of violation. That's what's being asked of us. To either say he was right or he was wrong, without any scolding.
There was actually a little bit more that was asked.
Okay, what else is asked?
There was a request for findings, because there seems to be some confusion as to what zoning district the property's in.
Okay.
So the request was that the board make the finding that the property is in the R30 zoning district, that the bylaws allow for agricultural uses by right in the R30 zoning district, according to your bylaws, in effect today, and that the special permit, the 2012 special permit for the veterinary hospital is limited to the 10 by 16 structure that's on the property, and that is limited to 3 animals only in that structure.
So you want 3 findings?
They're at the last page of the letter that I sent you. They're all written down for you.
And this is the law office of, and this is the,
Yep, page 3, I believe it is.
and decision, last page, I'm on the next to the last page. Let me go to the last page.
No, those are the exhibits. You have to go to that actual,
Oh, the last page of your letter, I'm sorry, thank you.
right above the signature
If you
line.
give me enough time, I'll finally get it on your paper, on your stationery. Daniel P. Walsh, so.
And this actually, I had read this letter, and this is where what you're asking us to do, enforcing the terms of the special permit, that's what I was getting at. That's not what we do.
What?
We don't enforce the special permit. What
I'm not asking
you
you.
said.
You have an
yes.
enforcement officer.
Right, but this letter's asking us that, so that's where I was starting to,
My letter is asking you to
Clear.
enforce, I'm not asking you to enforce the building commissioner's violation notice.
oh, maybe I'm reading the wrong one?
Yeah,
It's
Just,
this letter, it's the front letter.
I'm having a hard time, I'm sure it's in your letter, but there were three specific
let me pull it
findings.
up.
I mean, you wanted us to make a decision on the special permit.
This one.
Oh,
Does it exist or does it not? That was one finding, right?
If you look at even the building commissioner, it's right here. Requested relief.
I don't see that letter here.
It's,
I did see it.
it was in the
one point,
package
this
that
one.
we got them.
Is this what
Yes.
we're looking at? Is this what we're looking at?
No,
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 not
that's
anymore.
me.
Huh?
no,
Oh.
it's the one from law office, this is Jessica Clark.
That's why I'm not able to find it.
That's why I was having trouble too.
Okay. Oh, 1, 2, 3, like you
I see
said.
it, yeah.
Sorry.
No worries.
All I have to do is change books and get the same book. So you're looking for us to grant or deny the appeal make a finding that the keeping of animal is an agricultural use, and any further relief available at the discretion of the board. Okay. Okay. I couldn't suggest that the board could make a finding that the keeping of animals is an agricultural use. I could make a finding that an agricultural use is allowed by right, but that the keeping of animals is not allowed by right. So we could wordsmith it all day long.
Well, I think that's important and a good reason for us to continue so that we can wordsmith it, because I think the words are what's causing confusion with the enforcement element of this special permit. And it certainly seems like there's some confusion about what is an agricultural use and what's allowed by right,
Well,
according to the bylaws.
we're not arguing, or at least, if I'm speaking out of place for the board, I'm sure one of them will quickly shut me down. We're not arguing that MR30 or R30 have agricultural uses by right. We acknowledge that. I brought somebody up here and pointed to them, and it says agricultural and rural uses. R30, MR30, there's a big fat Y there, it's allowed. Even a cider mill is allowed by special permit. Horticulture, special permit, all allowed, they're all allowed. But then, again, going back to, there's the federal law, there's the state law, and then there's a local law. And they can become more restrictive as you go, but they can't be less restrictive. So the state may say, animals are agriculture, but Wareham says, agriculture or not, they're animal-related uses, and they're not allowed. That's what our bylaw says. You got a copy of it?
I do. I respectfully disagree with your interpretation, and I would appreciate the opportunity to fully brief you on it for the next meeting.
Yeah, and if we make a decision, you can take it to Superior Court and get their opinion as well. But that's what our bylaw says. So that we don't stay here all night long, is there anybody else, did you have any more that you wanted to offer?
Nope, just the site walk and a
Any
continuance
more
would be
comments from the
appreciated.
board? Okay. Jake has very graciously recused himself at the request of a member of the public. Jake, any more comments from you?
No.
Okay. So we have a request for a continuance. Before I take a vote on whether we're going to continue or not, I'd like to look at the attorney for the appellant and out into the room at the actual appellant and say, I think if you listen to the tone of the room, it's pretty obvious that you guys have a problem. And over the next 2 weeks, what you do about that problem may have little bearing on the decision of this board. It may have some. We may be by. I don't think anybody in this room feels as though you guys have done something vicious. I don't think anybody feels as though your hearts were in the wrong place. But the town gets together and they make bylaws. And it's for the betterment of all the town members. And sometimes, you know, I mean, I'm glad that we don't live in a country that says everybody has to paint their house the same color or wear the same uniform. But we do have rights, and our rights have to end when they start imposing on other people's rights. So that's where we are. And that said, I'd like to hear a motion for a continuance until March 8th.
I make a motion to continue to March 8th.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that this be continued again until March 8th. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Nazir, I think I saw your lips move. You might have been muted.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're going to continue one more time. As I see the commissioner getting up to walk out of the room, it would be a courtesy to the board if you could come to that meeting.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you all for listening to us. That's done with. We have one more, huh?
I didn't answer, but I'm abstaining on that.
You're abstaining?
I am.
Okay. So you didn't want to continue, or you just didn't want to?
No, well, I'm abstaining.
Excuse, for which matter, Veronica?
The continuance.
For,
Okay. All right, guys, I hate to leave you, but I'm gonna quit. So you guys, you have enough board to
getting
continue,
tired?
enough numbers.
it's okay, nighty-night. What time is it, Nazi?
30 in the morning.
3:30? 3:30? Hey, for crying out loud, I can remember a few weeks ago when we were just 18 years old, 10 o'clock we went out, 3:30 we were just getting wound up.
But anyway, just these, the past two hearings we continue, I suggest that we read them for the records, Jim. If Sonia can pull them out on her phone and read them, because we could be called out on those. It should be read,
I think,
if you don't mind.
If you can read them, yeah, I think that's a good idea, but they've been waived by other boards before as well, too.
I do have them up if you want to quickly read them.
You can read them and have yourself covered at this point.
I'll read them in if it makes anybody more comfortable. I'm glad to read all three of them into the, and maybe I can get Sonia's phone down to 5% battery power.
Just shrink it and then scroll
Okay.
to the right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nazi.
Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Yeah, sure, gives us work to continue and then goes to bed 3:30 in the morning.
Last time he was going skiing. Why is he going to do something now?
No more skiing. Thank you.
Thank you. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on February 22nd, 2023 at 6:30 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 4-23 for a site plan review from the requirements of Article 15, Section 1520 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to True Storage Limited Liability Corporation, 670 North Commercial Street, number 303, Manchester, New Hampshire, proposing to construct an indoor climate-controlled self-storage facility located at 2400 to 2402 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. That appears on Assessors Map 108, Lot 102B1, 102B2, 102D in the Industrial Zone District. That's one of them. And,
You may want to shrink it and then scroll.
oh no, I got into your pictures now. You may want to come here and save yourself.
No, you're good. And then just go. to the
Okay.
next.
Okay.
That's
Oh.
Right, is that number 5?
This is 523, yeah. We got one more after this, too, right? Okay, the Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on February 22, 2023 at 6:30 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 5-23 for a comprehensive permit under Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, for the 6 Chapel Lane Limited Liability Corporation of 19 Depot Street, Wareham, Mass., proposing to develop 6 units of rental on land located at 6 Chapel Lane, Wareham, Mass. That appears on Assessors Map 43, Lot 1036, 1037A, 1039, 1040A, and 1041A in the multi-residential 30 zoning district. And I'm shrinking it, and this might be the last one. Look at that. I catch on even if it takes...
Sausages for fingers are working good, right?
That's right. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a hearing on February 22nd, 2023 at 6:30 PM in room 320 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 6-23 for a special permit from the requirements of Article 6, Table 613, 621, and 628 under the Wareham zoning bylaws to Dorothy A. Piper of 40 Chippewa Drive, Wareham, Mass., proposing to demolish and rebuild the structure located at 40R Chippewa Drive, Wareham, Mass. That appears on Wareham Assessors Map 7, Lot 130, in the R30 zoning district. That is all. Thank you for the use of your phone. And the only other business was possible discussion regarding zoning articles for Springtown meeting. We already discussed that, you know, the deadline to get stuff in was such that anything we discuss now isn't going to happen until much later anyway. But we did, I want to pin Ken down, we did send one over that we wanted the number of cars increased to a minimum of 5 per bay or per lift. Hopefully that gets submitted to the planning board. If you could,
That already did.
it did?
Yes.
Because you,
I was at that meeting. They
thank you,
voted
John. So they voted,
for it to be presented.
they voted for it to be presented on the warrant. Look at that, the planning board agreed with us on something. We're gonna have to move that flag in the middle of the tug-of-war rope over a little bit. All I need now is no, I couldn't leave it alone.
So before you say a motion to close, let me just ask something, because you providing these different years of the,
Yeah,
the bylaw clarified something for me that I was a little confused about when I was reading the current riding stable description. It says about having the horses, ponies, mules, and/or donkeys maintained or kept for hire.
maintained or kept these guys in. They're not,
Right,
For rental or,
right. So if they're kept there for something other than hire, does that mean they can be there?
No.
So, no, it doesn't, because I read 2015, I was like, well, geez, this says for hire. But 2015 is a little bit more clear on the fact that it says used for the maintenance or rental of horses, which is a little more clear.
yeah, and I don't know
I
if,
don't know how we would fix, like,
I don't know
turnout.
what maintenance of horses is, or ponies, or donkeys, and I'm glad they've only got donkeys and they didn't try to make a jackass out of me because they were close.
So what do we do when there's like wording in the bylaw that's a little confusing? Because we had cleared this up before. We had like that, remember all those things that we were talking about with the asterisks, and this needs to be more clear. When does that happen? Clarity.
That's probably on the same town meeting. Did that already get, yes, that already got voted on and got changed. Do you remember the,
How often do we do that?
remember the, and we can do it as often, it should be ongoing, because there's 2 town meetings every year, and anything we get in, if they go, oh, it's too late for the meeting, well, here it is, we're real early for the next one.
All right, so I'm just going to take note of a couple,
Yeah.
when stuff like that happens, just so that on the next time that we're asked.
I think that one from before that we were talking about, remember there was a...
Change, I mean, it's obviously too late now to add anything, but.
No, remember what was the young girl that came, took the job because it was a 4-day work week, and then she was gonna say, I'm pregnant and I'm gonna go work from home and get paid to have a baby. But then she quit when she found out that wasn't gonna fly. Am I not supposed to say that on the public record?
Probably not.
Probably not. Well, I think it
rewind,
helps.
Bob. Rewind. Do we close?
Remember there was a whole bunch of changes made, and it was like,
Yeah, they were never advertised, so it never happened.
so that's never been
Oh.
acted upon? Okay, so that was keep the zoning board dazed and confused and then do nothing.
All right. I have a lot of questions tonight, which is making me very confused. So I'm just going to end it now and not
I've
say
been
anything else.
waiting to entertain a motion to close. As soon as somebody makes
Say
it,
it,
I'll
say
look.
it.
Make a motion to close.
I have a motion to close. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to close this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it closes. Good night, all.